So when I saw this on the official US Department of Labor, the Bureau of International Labor Affairs, exposing exploitation in global supply chain series. So obviously they know all about this. Why are they constantly pushing for electrification of everything as soon as possible?
Unbelievable!
When there's so many issues with the stuff, from human exploitation to basically being in control of China. China dominates the refining and processing of nearly all minerals for lithium-ion batteries and all the minerals associated with it. So I'm going to focus on the Congo for this video. The reason why is because they have the most. They control the majority of the world's cobalt mining. And, well, guess who controls that? In turn, China. Surprise, surprise. The government of the US knows this. They know it. And on top of that, they know that China dominates these markets. But in turn, we're being told that electrifying everything ASAP will save humanity. I don't know. You guys be the judges. All right, so first up, Statista. They have this very nice graphic. Countries with the largest cobalt mines. Congo has more than half of the world's reserves when it comes to cobalt. Congo, actually it's called the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but I'm not sure how democratic they are. Got some issues. In the 2022 Corruption Perception Index, this was run by Transparency International, they gauged the levels of perceived public sector corruption in 180 countries and territories around the world. The Democratic Republic of the Congo didn't do so well. Unsurprising, of the countries that are least corrupt, Denmark, Finland, New Zealand, good for them. Now the most corrupt, Somalia, Syria, South Sudan. Out of the 180 countries, the Congo came out at 166. That's pretty darn corrupt. So it's no wonder that the Chinese can get in there and extract the cobalt that is so valuable. Statista also provides us with a graphic on modern day slavery. They say it's a brutal reality. It's nuts. So their latest data that they could gather was in 2018. And India came out with a country with the highest number of modern day slaves. Insane. Nearly 8 million people are living as modern day slaves in India. China, Pakistan, even Russia's on there. 800,000 people in Russia. Pretty scary. The Congo is on there. Over 1 million people are estimated to be modern day slaves in the Congo. Well, here's the thing, that the US government knows this. All right, so let's go back to the Department of Labor's Exposing Exploitation series about the global supply chain. So here they go in depth about how the cobalt is mined with child labor. Are these people actual child laborers, or are they modern day slaves?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Modern day slave kids that were kidnapped from their own parents. Pretty f***ed up. And that's the part that pisses me off, that they know this. They know this, they have the data, they write reports on it on official government websites. They have it all. Yet they push and push and push. Second page in this paragraph, they say these rechargeable batteries can store more energy and power. Minerals like cobalt, they say, is replacing fossil fuels in this critical tech. And then they really go in depth, okay? They go really in depth. They ask, where does cobalt come from? Here's the graphic showing all the cobalt mines throughout the Congo. They say that over 70% of the world's cobalt comes from the Congo. And then they go on to highlight that child labor is often found in these small-scale mines, less regulated and rarely visited by any kind of labor inspectors. And I genuinely think they're actually kind of being generous. They're being generous by saying that only 15 to 30%, they don't even have it close to an exact number, 15 to 30% of local production is small-scale, artisanal. They even use a nice word for it, artisanal, small-scale cobalt mines. And that these small-scale mines have child labor. And then of course it takes a dark turn. It says cobalt is often mined with child labor. They say that in 2009, Department of Labor placed cobalt ore from the DRC on the list of goods produced by child labor. Over a decade later, child labor still persists in production of cobalt. Okay, and then they go on to talk about how it goes from the Congo to China. Do we think that the Chinese give a if the Congo is using modern day child slaves to mine the cobalt? They make slaves out of their own people. They could care less about those in Africa. They're just using the resources, obviously. They even admit this. Global supply chain, a supply chain dominated by China. 90% of its cobalt from the Congo. In their own words, it says Chinese firms own, operate, and finance most of the Congo's cobalt mines. It's mind-boggling that the US and the West, they want to use lithium-ion batteries for everything. But hey, why didn't they invest in all these things beforehand? And then they say the process of refining cobalt prior to export, prior to leaving the Congo, that the cobalt from multiple sources, i.e. those using modern slaves, child slaves, and those not using, they're intermingled. Therefore, you can't tell where the cobalt came from. You can't tell if modern day child slaves were used for the cobalt. It's so aggravating that the West and the US, of course, pushing this EV transformation of society, yet they control near zero of the essential production of the materials needed to make this transition. It's mind-boggling. In 2020, they say Congo exported $2.36 billion in cobalt, 90% going to China. That's where it got refined and processed and kind of blended chemically with the lithium to produce the batteries. So then they provide this nice graphic showing how batteries are powered by child labor. Very people pushing for this transition. It's psychotic. They estimate that half of the lithium-ion batteries imported to the US come from China, which gets 90% of cobalt from the Congo. In their own report, it highlights the strong government demand and plans to basically get rid of gas, diesel-powered cars is contributing to all of this exploitation. EVs, computers, cell phones, vacuum cleaners, wind turbines. That's one thing that a lot of people don't understand, that the wind turbines, okay, they generate the electricity, they convert the electricity, and it has to be stored. And that is lithium-ion batteries that store this energy. But thank you, Jesus, thank God, that the Department of Labor is informing the public in their own words. Their research shows that the lithium-ion batteries are produced with an input, cobalt, made by child labor, potentially modern-day child slaves. Why didn't the US incentivize companies to go to the Congo, share the profits with the people, the government, raise the standard of living, use the resources for betterment of their own people, and of course, enrich the world with cobalt and lithium batteries? Obviously, the Chinese don't give a what the hell's wrong with these people? Absolutely fascinating, and of course, disgusting that the Department of Labor has all of this on display. I think it's actually embarrassing, super embarrassing. Just goes to show that China is winning, and they're winning big. They're playing the long game. Why didn't the West think ahead? Makes no sense. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for sharing the time with me, learning about this topic. I think it's very fascinating, and hopefully things improve for people there and elsewhere. All right, guys. Well, if you haven't hit the like, please do. It does actually help the channel. Probably try to grow it a little more. Please do hit the like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next one.